things have gotten very, very interesting with our Baltimore Ravens. With the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Los Angeles Chargers tonight, tonight's game may have become a must-win situation, with the Cleveland Browns gifting the Ravens a win by beating the Pittsburgh Steelers on Thursday night. That brought the Baltimore Ravens a game closer to that AFC North title. We all want the Ravens to win the AFC North because we don't want to have to play a road playoff game. And I know we're not supposed to do this, but looking forward to next week's opponent in the Philadelphia Eagles, watching them play the Los Angeles Rams, we may have some issues. Now, kudos to Howie Roseman. He has put together a fabulous team. He's brought in draft picks. He's brought in free agents to bring the Philadelphia Eagles where they are at this point. They have now won 7 straight games and sit at 9-2, awaiting the Ravens next week. And the thing that worries me the most and kind of gives me a little bit of pause is this Philadelphia Eagles offensive line and their run game versus our defense. Now, yes, the Baltimore Ravens are 32nd in the league versus the pass, and most of that, or at least some of it, has to do with the Ravens being up big in games, forcing teams to pass and abandon the run. Now, the Ravens' run defense is ranked 2nd in the league right now, but tonight Saquon Barkley is showing us that he's going to put that number 2 ranking to the test, because goodness gracious, tonight Saquon Barkley rushed for a Eagles record for 255 yards in this game. He had 270-plus rushing yard touchdowns in the second half alone. This was a close game until Saquon Barkley topped it off. He even chipped in another 47 yards receiving. So to me, this may be an issue for this defense going forward. I don't know how the Ravens are going to fare against this because, yes, Jalen Hurts can throw the ball. A.J. Brown is a problem, but they did all of this with their number 2 receiver, Devontae Smith, not even playing during this game. So it pretty much was stop A.J. Brown, stop Saquon Barkley. And the Los Angeles Rams did neither. Now, if Devontae comes back next week, that's going to add another problem for these Baltimore Ravens. So I say that tonight's game is going to be a must-win for us because we don't know what to expect next week. Now, the Baltimore Ravens have been given the assignment. Listen, right now, without tonight's game actually being played, Saquon Barkley is the leading rusher in the NFL. As it stands through 11 games, Saquon Barkley has 1,392 yards, which is a career high for him. He also has 10 rushing touchdowns. And before the week began, Derrick Henry was the leading rusher with 1,185 yards and 13 rushing touchdowns. So depending upon what Henry does tonight, he may be able to take the rushing lead back. And this is truly amazing to me because Derrick Henry has been balling out of control since he first stepped foot on the grounds of Baltimore's practice field. And to think that even after tonight with an extra game, Saquon Barkley could still be in the lead, it's a pretty scary thought for the Ravens going into next week's game. So we cannot blunder tonight's game versus the Chargers. We cannot get out coached. We cannot get outplayed. We need Lamar Jackson to return to the MVP form that he had before. We need this offense to pick it up. We need our defense to pick up the momentum that they had from last week and carry it over to this game. Now, it is not going to be an easy task because we have a lot of former Ravens on this team. We have coaches that know this organization. So the Ravens can't afford to lose this game and fall another game behind the Pittsburgh Steelers in the divisional race. Then if we lose next week's game, that's 7 losses on the season. And for all intents and purposes, this is not what we expected when the Baltimore Ravens started this season. When we first heard the news that Derrick Henry was being signed to this team, we thought, hey, it's going to be a Super Bowl, easy enough. Kansas City, not going to be a problem because we thought coming into the season that we had the number 1 defense going forward. And we've had anything but that. So tonight's game is definitely a must-win and one we cannot afford to lose. And after we play the Philadelphia Eagles, to me, the only and the toughest game left on this schedule is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I thought that the Houston Texans were going to provide a problem, but they have some issues of their own going down there in Texas. CJ Stroud is not the player that he was last year, and this offense seems disjointed. Their defense is playing relatively well, but they can be had. So to me, Pittsburgh is the last remaining game on this schedule that we need to overcome. If you think about it, if we lose this Chargers game, then lose to the Eagles, we have that game with the Steelers where we are 1-8 in our last 9 games. So the Ravens cannot go 8 losses on the season because they may not make the playoffs. So I need them to win tonight. And the one key that's going to help this Ravens team is defense. Now, thinking of the defense, there was something that came out this week that had me thinking like, I know we missed out on Robert Saleh. I know we brought in Dean Pease. Like, we haven't done everything that we possibly could to make this defense better. But there is one thing that I think may help. Now, there has been a report that Rex Ryan wants to be a head coach desperately in the NFL again. To me, I think he's had his chances. I don't think the teams are rocking with him because he's a little too boisterous. He's a little bit loose with his lips. But to me, if he comes back into the league as a defensive coordinator possibly, or some kind of defensive advisor, that may bode well for him becoming a head coach once again. So bringing him into the fold, bringing him back to Baltimore, where he started as a defensive coordinator, this may help the Ravens out a ton. Now, it may not help us out immediately, but I think in the long run, especially if the Ravens make the playoffs, I think that this will help out tremendously. Listen, Rex Ryan and his organized noise, his organized chaos, I think this is something that the Ravens need. And while he was the defensive coordinator, while we didn't have all the pieces offensively in the beginning that we needed, the defense fared pretty well. Now, he was the defensive coordinator from 2005 to 2008. And in 2005, his first season as the Ravens defensive coordinator, they were 10th in points allowed and 5th in yards allowed. Then in 2006, the Baltimore Ravens ranked 1st in points allowed and 1st in yards allowed. So his second season as the Ravens defensive coordinator, they were 1 across the board. And this was the season that the Baltimore Ravens went 13-3 and went into the playoffs and lost to Peyton Manning and the Indianapolis Colts 15-6. Now, the high-powered offense with Peyton Manning, Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, Edgerrin James, they were held to 3 field goals. It's just that the Baltimore Ravens didn't have the offensive pieces to help get them over the hump. Then in 2006, the Baltimore Ravens defense regressed just a little bit. They ranked 22nd in points allowed and 6th in yards allowed. Now, a lot of that had to do with Kyle Bowler starting the majority of the games at quarterback and Steve McNair being broke down and not being able to contribute much. But a lot of those points were attributed to the offense and Kyle Bowler turning the ball over and giving the other team's offense prime real estate to score points, or just fumbling or pick sixes. So a lot of those points that were scored were attributed to the defense, which the defense really did not give up. And also, even with this ranking, Rex Ryan and the Baltimore Ravens almost defeated the undefeated New England Patriots. If it hadn't been for a late timeout call where the Ravens stopped them on 4th down, they would have made the New England Patriots 17-1 versus 18-0. So Rex Ryan, the son of Buddy Ryan, knows a thing or two about defense. Now, his final season in Baltimore, the Baltimore Ravens ranked 3rd in points allowed and they ranked 2nd in yards allowed. So once again, this man knows how to coach a defense. Even when he went to the New York Jets, he took that defense to another level and was able to make it to an AFC Championship game. He beat Peyton Manning and those same Indianapolis Colts. So even without Ray Lewis and Ed Reed, he took defenses and made things out of them. So for him coming in and being a consultant for the Baltimore Ravens, I think that can only help Zach Orr. It can only help the Ravens get to where they want to go. We don't need the Ravens to be the #1 defense in the NFL, but we do need them to play a lot better. We do need for them at times when the offense is not clicking or Todd Monken is not on his best game to kind of slow down these offenses and help dictate what's going on. Because over Lamar Jackson's career, we have never had a problem with the defense shutting down opposing quarterbacks. We've just had problems with the offense scoring points. So bringing him in and minimizing what other teams can do will only help the Ravens out. So as I said, the Ravens have to win this game tonight. And if you are going to watch the game tonight, make sure you come back to the channel and check out the live streaming of the game and then the post-game reaction with myself and Yolanda B. Raven live streaming both of those. So I hope to see you guys later. And listen, the Baltimore Ravens have a very tough road ahead and it's not going to be easy. But the one thing that we have that other teams do not have is Lamar Jackson.
Nah, man, I'm cool.